We all know from the first Doctor Strange movie that Stephen Strange has a photographic memory. I mean, he could recall all the spells from just memory. So even though Wanda destroyed all the Darkhold books across the multiverse, there's now one final copycat existing in Stephen Strange's mind. He read it in a fallen dimension to become a Dreamwalker inside Defender Strange's body and used it to defeat Wanda. Those goats keep yelling, and this gag might be familiar to you. And that's because it's a reference to a well-known yelling goat on the internet. Also, when Thor says this,
"Buddy, just relax, the goats are gonna be fine. If not, we can just use them for meat."
We all see it as a joke, but in Norse mythology, Thor actually did slaughter his goats and ate them. But in the stories, he had resurrection powers, so he would just bring them back to life. I can only imagine how scared the goats must be of Thor after the third time. Okay, how are these helicopters able to lift these ships? In the movie's time period, there are no helicopters capable of lifting more than 20 tons. And the ships from the same time period weighted at least around 150 tons. And that's without having gold inside. Also, how dumb is Sully for throwing the bag of gold to Braddock instead of throwing it inside the helicopter? This has to be the dumbest thing anyone could ever do.
Baba Yaga.
Do you know the term Baba Yaga does not really mean boogeyman? Baba Yaga in Slavic actually means witch and is meant as a scare story for children, and in the stories it acts more like a trickster than an assassin. And although in the movie they refer to John as Baba Yaga, what they really mean is that he is the one you sent to kill Baba Yaga. But what they have in common is that they both tend to be helpful to those who are pure of heart. Did they do this on purpose, or is it just a coincidence? So during training, only one pilot had a crash, and that was Phoenix. What's interesting is that her name comes from a mythical bird that rises from its own fiery ashes. Even after the crash, Phoenix shows she's tough and determined. She doesn't just bounce back, but also joins in the final mission. This part of the story makes the Phoenix character more interesting, showing she can overcome tough times and still play a big role in the mission despite her earlier crash.
I want to be real for you.
You are real for me.
Can you guess how this scene was shot? Well, believe it or not, the scene was actually shot for real, without any use of green screen and very little digital elements. Well, this scene was shot twice, one with Ana de Armas and the other with Mackenzie Davis. The wild thing is Ryan Gosling had to memorize the moves so that they align with the first shot. The two shots were merged, and that's why they don't really sync up perfectly, which gives the movie a very authentic touch regarding Joy's abilities. In the movie Top Gun Maverick, Iceman faces a relapse of throat cancer and sadly passes away because of it. In real life, the actor Val Kilmer was also dealing with throat cancer, which damaged his vocal cords so much that he could not speak. To work around this, in the movie, his character communicates by typing and only says 3 lines towards the end of the movie.
That's why you're still here.
These spoken lines were made using a special computer program that imitated Val Kilmer's voice because he could not speak due to his health condition. And at the character's funeral, the famous missing person formation is shown, and at the last moment, one of the pilots steps out of formation indicating someone has passed on.
We lost our stomach for slaves, unless engineered.
Do you know Jared Leto is actually blind for all of these scenes? Well, in order to properly prepare for the role, Jared Leto decided to wear opaque contact lenses for the movie. And although they weren't completely blacked out, they made it impossible for him to clearly see. And also for how the character will behave, he used the personality of Silicon Valley tech investors that he personally knew.
You do not know what pain is yet.